Welcome back to the Backend Story. I'm your host, Rakesh. Today's guest is Ritesh Hegde. He's the founder and CEO of Ritz7 Automations. He started as an electrical engineer who never really liked reading books. However, he loved solving real problems and automating anything that is repetitive. Over time, after working nearly for a decade in corporate roles, his curiosity towards automations ended up defining his career. His passion towards teaching and creating educational content online has helped thousands of people across the globe. If you're a student, in this episode, you will see why having practical exposure, working on side projects, and learning AI matters more than scoring well in your exams. If you are a working professional, then you will see how automating your repetitive and boring tasks can free you up so that you can work on what really matters so that you can propel in your career. If you are starting your entrepreneurial journey, you will discover some of the practical do's and don'ts that can save you from a lot of troubles in the later stages. And you will see why focusing on marketing and sales from day one is critical, because often distribution is the barrier for success. Being consistent and learning from your mistakes can help you navigate through tough times when your clients dry up or your first startup fails. Let's talk to Ritesh.
Hey Ritesh, welcome to the Backend Story. This podcast is basically designed to hear the stories behind the titles. We'll briefly touch upon the titles just for the audience to know what you exactly do right now. And then we'll quickly switch gears into starting from your origins and then see the paths that you walked. So I'll let you introduce yourself. Let's get started with what you do today and what does your normal day look like?
I am Ritesh Hegde from Hubli, Karnataka, India. Right now, I'm educating people on latest AI techs. I am the founder and CEO of Ritz7 Automations, and we have been doing automation solutions for close to 6 years now. And for the last 1.5 years, we've been doing videos on YouTube, every single day. So we are on a streak. I think we have completed around 25 plus days or so far.
Amazing story, Ritesh. So in your college days, what was your personality was like?
I was never studious, right? I always believed in practical exposure. So even during my engineering days, I'm an electrical engineer right now doing software. So I believe in practical exposure rather than textbook studies.
So once you graduated from your college, how did you transition to a job? So was doing a 9 to 5 job was always on the cards, or you had any other thoughts how you wanted to explore your career?
When I was in my college, it's not really very serious about my career, right? And I always thought somehow something will come up, right? And strange part was I got placed in a software company. Okay. And back then I didn't know anything about software. Okay. So it was a surprise or maybe even shock for me and my lectures as well. Right. So this was a banking software company from US. Okay. They had a small division in Bangalore. It was a small company, just about 12-15 people in Bangalore. I mean, I didn't have any fear of not getting the job there. So probably what made them hire me was my confidence, right? Because I didn't have the fear of losing anything there. Okay. I was very confident. Even if I'm giving wrong answer, I was very confident. Okay. Probably that would be the reason. That could be the only reason they hired me, because I didn't know anything about software. Right. And yet they hired me. So that's how my professional career started, actually.
I don't know whether it's a good thing or bad thing, but you are not, I'm sure like this is not a norm. Like many companies look at candidates in different ways whenever they are hiring, and probably they have a different take on hiring fresh graduates versus experienced candidates, right? So in fresh graduates, probably the confidence level, the go-getter kind of an attitude, who is able to articulate things in the right way. So whenever the problems are asked. So yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting shift that you have had in that case from your college to corporate. How was your initial days in that company? How did you ramp up?
So it was not like we had nothing that I could apply there. We had learned C, C++, which was common for all. And so it was a 3 months of training period where we were trained on JavaScripts and a lot of other technologies which we had to use in the banking software. But unfortunately, because I didn't know the basics of C, C++, it was very hard for me to learn JavaScripts or any other languages that they were teaching us, like Python, if I remember correctly. And after 3 months, what to say, we had some exams kind of a thing, okay, where they wanted to understand how many people actually are learning and stuff like that. And after 3 months, during this exam, they understood that half of us were not good enough. Okay. And then they said, okay, we'll not be able to continue with this further and stuff like that. And then I shifted back to Hubli and then I got recruited in Kirloskar Electric Motors. Okay. So we have a R&D branch here in Hubli. Okay. So I got a job there as a internship trainee or something like that. Right. Where I was learning on electric motors and stuff like that.
Okay, so you finally ended up in your roots where it all
Mm,
started on your engineering side.
yeah.
At what point in your career you decided that, okay, you know what, 9 to 5 is not my thing? You wanted to move out of it. How did the thought start? And then what were your plan A, plan B? Like, how would your family would take it? Or how would you financially be independent? What if it doesn't work out? So were there any thoughts on that specific time frame when you made that huge leap of faith?
Oh, that is a very long story actually. So when I was in Kirloskar Electric Motors in Hubli, right, that was the first time I was actually learning about motors. Even though I finished my electrical engineering, um, only after I joined that company was I understanding how motor works, what are the things required. And luckily, this was a R&D center, okay, and all over India, the motors for designing would come to Hubli Center. They would send the inquiry for special motors, and we had to design that copper rotations and stuff like that. And most of our job was with Excel files. So every time we get an inquiry for a new motor, we had to create a Excel file with all the, like, how many rotations, what kind of copper, all of that. Okay. And then send that Excel file to the plant. So they would manufacture that. And that was the first time I was even using Excel file. Right. And after doing it for 6 months, I got bored of it. I'm like, do we need an engineer to fill an Excel file? Right. And that's when I started wondering, how can I automate this? So I keep saying that I'm a lazy person. So if there is anything that comes on my way multiple times, I try to see how can I automate that. So after doing this for 6 months, I'm like, okay, let's find a way how we can automate this. And that's where my automation journey actually started way back in 2009. And I learned that there is something called VBA, okay, where we can program the Excel file to run by itself. Okay.
What is
So
VBA, if you can explain further?
VBA is Visual Basics for Applications. So this is a language by Microsoft for all their products like Excel, PPT, Outlook. right? And one of the beauty of this particular coding language is you can just record it. Okay. For example, if I want to do certain action, I can just click on record. Okay. And then I can just do whatever action I want and then pause it. Right. This is like an audio recorder. So you just record it. And whenever you want to play the same action, you just play it. So I started with that and started learning deeper to understand how can I automate my, what is it, day-to-day activities. So I built an entire system there, which would read my emails, understand the motor specifications. It would check if we have already created the, what is it, specification. And if it matches, then it would create a copy of that file and send it to plant. Right. So my job there became, what I say, to create specifications for motors, which we had not created before. So next time when we get an inquiry, we could just filter it out and then use it. So I did my research for 3 months, like learning process and building that thing. And the last 3 months, my job was only to come and click a button on Excel file, which would read my emails and fetch the information, create the file and send it to them. So then I thought, okay, I mean, I've automated most of my task here. What's the point of staying here? So I just left that and then went for PG diploma in embedded systems from CDAC, Bangalore. Okay. And then that took a different route altogether.
So, from Kirloskar, were there any initiatives to automate it, or was this your interest and initiative that introduced automation there, and probably the team followed it later?
No, like I mentioned, I am a lazy person. So I didn't want to do that Excel file, what is it, Excel job day in and day out. So I was just trying to figure out like, how can I get rid of this? Okay. And that's what made me automate the entire process. So before my entrepreneurship, journey started, I was in the corporates for 10 years, right? So after I quit Kirloskar and joined PG diploma, I took embedded systems there because I thought that if I could automate with just software here, okay, combining it with what I say hardware, okay, it would be even more powerful, right? And that's why I took embedded systems. And after doing it for like 6 months, it was a 6 months PG diploma course. And after that, I got into Robert Bosch. So I stayed there for like close to 3 years. Again, I was working with Japanese there. So got opportunity to travel to Japan and work closely with them for 6 months. So that was a great experience because I could learn a lot from Japanese culture and their working ethics and a lot more things, right? So I stayed there for 3 years in Robert Bosch and then switched to Continental, again, a German-based automotive company. I stayed there for close to 6 years. And during that tenure, I got opportunity to travel to Germany thrice, China once. So I was working closely with them, understanding about their quality standards, right? And on all of that. And all throughout this 9, 10 years, I was automating my things, right? So I continued to automate my day-to-day tasks during this tenure. And in 2017, me and my friend thought we have to do something of our own, right? And I had automated the process of creating documents for visa. Okay, again, like I mentioned, I was traveling frequently and I was bored of filling those forms, right? What I had observed was you have to fill the same information in different formats for different purposes when you travel. Okay. You will have to fill your name, your passport number, the start date of your travel, end date of your travel, where are you traveling, why are you traveling, right? Same information for visa processing and multiple other things. So I again was wondering like, how do I automate this? Okay, because it was not just my problem, but like so many colleagues who used to travel every now and then. So I built a VB script where you could just enter the information once. It would save it in the database. And each time you want to travel, you just put your country of travel, the start date of travel, end date of travel, your reason of travel. It would fill all the documents for you. So I shared it with my colleagues in Continental. They started using it and they're like, oh, wow, this is nice. Because one thing is you hardly will make mistakes because you just have to fill like 4 or 5 information. The rest of things is taken care of. And the process actually became faster, right? And then my friend who has been with me since my college days, he was like, this is a real problem a lot of corporates face. Okay, so why not make it as a product? Okay. And he also had some ideas. So we thought, okay, let's combine together and then start a startup. Okay. The only thing there was we were not very serious about it. Okay. When I say not very serious, we didn't have time or we didn't dedicate time for that startup. Okay. It was like, whenever we get time, let's work on it. Okay. And I was working full time at Continental and he was working full time because of lack of information about starting a startup. We ended up registering a private limited company. Okay. Without having anything ready, nothing set up and stuff like that. And having a private limited company, we had to file GST and all of that. Even though there was no income, we had to do that. We had to hire a CA and we ended up paying them for their service while we didn't have income coming in. Okay. And because I had learned just about the VBA and VB scripts and stuff like that, I didn't have any knowledge of web application development or anything else apart from this Excel based automation. So it was very hard for me to create a application as such. Because if I create a VB, executable, okay, in the corporate world, it's very hard that you share executable to thousands of people and they run it on their machine. They would need a cloud-based solution, right? And I didn't know how to develop a cloud-based solution back then. Okay. So we spent around 1.5 years or so. Then I realized, okay, we are just spending money for the legal things and we are not really serious about it because we are not dedicating time for it. So we finally thought, let's close this.
You didn't have a solid product that you think that you could sell. Why did you go with registering an LLC? Was that a mistake that if you think back, or was there any definitive reason why you went with that route?
No, there was no definitive reason. So we were, I would call in the startup ecosystem, probably we were immature to go ahead and register a private limited company. But it was that we wanted to start something of our own. And I don't regret doing that. Okay. Because I at least learned one way how not to build a startup, right? That experience of giving time, okay, and building it for 1.5 year actually helped me for this particular startup, okay, which I'm doing right now. Because at the beginning itself, I was very sure that if I'm building something, I'll have to dedicate time specifically for that. Otherwise, it's not happening, right? And so, yeah, that experience definitely helped me to build this one.
Right. So when did you took it seriously and quit your 9 to 5 job and completely took a plunge in a startup? And what were the thoughts that were running behind? Because those are extremely daunting thoughts during that time, right? Because you are leaving all of your 10 years or 5 years of experience, a constant income that you didn't have to be bothered about. So how did you take that plunge?
So in 2019, I was in Bangalore and my friend told me like, you've been doing automation for close to 10 years now. Okay. Why don't you start giving that as a service? So I started my freelancing journey in 2019 on a platform called Fiverr, right? And it was very hard to get the project because there were thousands of them who were giving that service and they had already built their reputation and stuff like that, right? But I kept telling myself that they also started from zero, right? So I actually got my first project after like 35, 36 days, bidding for 10 projects every single day. Okay, so I bid for 350 plus projects before I got my first project, which was worth $5.
So within 35 days, you got your first client. That's not bad. But if you see the efforts that you put every single day, so what did you do this when you are full time, or you just quit your job and then directly started doing these things?
No, no, no. So I was still working full time, right? And after my job, I used to come home and then bid for 10 projects, okay, every single day. Uh, I was ready to do the project even at zero, okay, but the platform had a minimum cost of $5 because I knew that I just want to build my reputation and climb that ladder up. That first project actually changed a lot of things because after that, one of the things that I was very serious about was quality of work, right? So whenever I communicate to the client, I would always tell them that this is what I know. Okay. So out of their requirements, I would, if I know only 80%, I would tell them upfront that 80% of this I know how to do. I'll get that done. The remaining 20%, if I'm able to do, then you pay me for that. Otherwise, that's completely fine. Right. So communication was very clear from the very beginning. And I would say that this probably was because I worked closely with Japanese and Germans. Okay. So quality of work and what I say, timeliness of work. This were the two aspects which I took at most importance, right? I would always take additional time. So if I feel that I need 3 days, I would commit for 5 days, right? And deliver it within 3 days because that would give them that wow moment, right? So that was something that I kept doing and it actually helped.
So, okay. So, and then when did you quit your job?
That was in 2020. So again, during pandemic, so I shifted to my hometown. And because I had automated most of my work, I had a lot of time. I didn't have to travel to office, come back. So I would save around 2 hours there. So I could take more projects. I hired a couple of them to join me to take care of multiple other projects. And I realized that if we could take on so many projects while I'm working, if I quit, I'll be able to take even more projects and build this even bigger, right? So 2020, June or so, I quit and started building this as a full-time thing. Of course, I had my own challenges to convince my parents, my wife, because we had a house in Bangalore for which we had to pay EMI and then married with a kid, right? So a lot of responsibilities. But somehow something in me was telling that, okay, if you could do this full time, okay, there's a huge opportunity. Okay, a lot of things can be done. And I think that gave me the power to convince my parents, my wife that, okay, I will be doing this and this will definitely help us in long term.
Yeah. So, what did once you quit your 9 to 5 and then started this, were there any days where you did not find any clients, money stopped flowing? Were there any moments where you felt unsafe after quitting and thought that I shouldn't have?
There were moments, definitely. I mean, I think every entrepreneur would have gone through that phase, and so did I. And this came in when we were actually doing pretty good. The only thing was when I observed back, I think this was in 2022 or so. Okay. We had the same clients working with us for about 8, 9 months. So we didn't have any new clients because we were already full. Okay. Like I mentioned, we were taking care of the quality aspect of it so well that we had around 80 to 85% repeat ratio, right? So almost all the clients would come back to us for some sorts of service because they liked what we had given them, right? At one stage, I saw that for the last 8 odd months, we didn't have any new clients. And I was like, how long will these clients work with us? There has to be something that we have to do, right? And that's when we started doing marketing, active marketing. And so we had to kind of restructure our team, the pricing, and all of that. Okay, that's when we had a dip. And that was a moment when I felt, oh, okay, we have done something wrong, or we could have done something differently, or something like that. But later did I realize that because I'm coming from job to business, okay, most of our concentration is in the operation side. Okay. A lot of business owners actually go through this because they know how to deliver a product or service and they concentrate completely on that aspect of it. Right. But business has its own things that has to be taken care of, like marketing, sales, R&D, and all of that. So we coming from that, like from job to business without having any business background, right? It's very hard for us to understand those departments in business. Okay. So later I joined Rajiv Talreja's MBA course, okay, where they gave us full brief of how a business should be run and all of that. That actually helped us to understand it, and then we scaled up and stuff like that. There were instances, not just once, it has happened multiple times. Again, I kept telling myself that you have quit your job for a reason. So just keep that in mind and then keep going.
Yeah. With just whatever you mentioned, I see a significant learning that you have had during those first 1 year of your freelancing, and then, starting as a full-time, keep believing in why you started, giving more emphasis on quality of the product that you deliver to increase the recurring clients coming back to you. I got an answer for why you are so passionate about automation instead of, building it as a single product, right? So was the automation covering anything and everything that you can automate, or you were focusing on certain use cases that you wanted to deliver across your clients?
So we were giving them custom software solutions, right? So we started with automation, like I mentioned, Excel-based automation. Then we moved into Google Sheets automation and Google Products automation. And then I explored about no-code automation, platforms like Zapier, Make, Pabbly Connect, and a lot of them, and started automating those things. Then I explored Bubble.io, understand how to build web applications. So we started giving that as a service. So from then on, we started building custom solutions for entire business, right? Starting from registration to sending emails, notifications, and all of that. Mid of 2022, we actually started giving custom software solutions where we would understand the process that they are using right now. Okay. Mostly would have been in Excel file or Google Sheets or something like that. So we would shift that to a web application where every user would have a login for themselves. We could track who has done what changes, who has inputted what details, and all of that. We would have a dashboard for the business where they can see who is performing well, who is not, what's happening, and all of that. So it would be a custom solution. And the beauty of that was every new client would come up with a new challenge, right? So it was amazing to understand their challenge and try to solve it and give them better output.
Were you focusing on a particular niche or a target audience, or you were just open for any clients that you can serve? How did that help you or didn't help you in marketing and attracting more clients?
We didn't focus on a particular niche. That actually didn't help us much in the marketing because we worked with a lot of different niches. So we worked with translation agency, we worked with photography agency, we worked with HR agency, right? And so many different areas. So for our marketing, we didn't have proper content to create. Like once we would speak about HR, once we would speak about photography agency and stuff like that. But because each of this, project that we handled was different niche, it had its own challenges, right? And solving those challenges was always something that we enjoyed doing. That gave us the required exposure. So we were very confident of building any solution that the client wanted uh, for them. So yeah, it gave us exposure, but not really marketing content.
Because since you're focusing on basically any client that comes across the domains, they didn't help you in sales, right?
Mhm.
Which means you could not grow as much as you wanted as a company, right? Is that a fair
True.
understanding? Now, if you look back, do you think that you should have, streamlined it to maybe 2 to 3 niches so that you can um, build the products to the scale and then just resell the same product multiple times and then make with less efforts, less churn? Do you think that that should have been the case if you think back?
Never thought about it in that way. We were very weak in marketing area. So we didn't know how to market, what to market, and how do you create content which would attract people and stuff like that. So that had been our biggest challenge for uh, close to 4 or 5 years before I joined that MBA program and I started doing YouTube videos and all of that. Uh, so I think even with different niches, we could have focused on a couple of niches in the marketing sector. But the real challenge was not working with different niches; it was understanding of how marketing works.
From MBA, give me like 2 to 3 most critical things that you have learned that you are still applying that every entrepreneur should follow and do it whenever they're starting a company or they're founders already.
Uh, so a few important aspects that I realized was, as a business owner, your focus should be on growing the business, right? A lot of times we as business owners are in operations, delivering day-to-day tasks, right? So if I, for example, if we get a project from a client, okay, we will start working on it because we feel we are the best to deliver the project in the best possible manner. Okay. And what I realized after finishing that particular program was, if you as a business owner are concentrating on delivering day-to-day tasks, okay, who is going to concentrate on growing the business, right? So that is one of the key aspects that I've learned, and it means that you will have to have full confidence in your team, have belief in them that they can deliver, uh, what to say, the project at equal quality or even better. And so there was a saying that our coach mentioned during this program, that if you are the best in the team to deliver your service or product, then that is the worst thing that can happen for a business, right? Because you need to have team members who can actually deliver better than you. So you can actually focus on business growth than delivering projects or services. So that is one of the things. Second, you have to keep doing active marketing. Word of mouth based marketing is actually, I mean, it cannot be working every time. Okay. Because people will refer only when they have time, or only when, they get some inquiries or something like that. But as a business, you need to have estimation of how many clients are you going to get next month, what is the revenue that is coming in, and all of that. And you will be able to do that only if you understand the marketing aspects of it pretty well, where you say, okay, this is the marketing activity that I'm going to do, and these are the leads that are coming in, and using sales, I'll convert them to deals and blah, blah, blah. Right. So different departments in a business, like marketing, sales, HR, R&D, operations, and so on and so forth. So those aspects also I learned, and very crucial actually for a business.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ritesh. These are really, really very insightful learnings. I'm sure the listeners would be able to resonate whatever exactly that you were mentioning, especially those who are starting new, right? These are like, gold nuggets for them. How to do, how not to do. Like, thank you so much. And so moving ahead, how did you get into being an educator and content creator? Why? Where did it all start
Uh,
from?
that's again interesting journey. Um, so I had joined a community from a US based agency, right? So she was running something called office hours, okay, where every single day she had a dedicated 1 hour where if you have any questions, you could just join that call and ask questions to get unstuck. Okay, the concept was very simple. You pay a subscription fees on a monthly basis, right? And then you can join every single day, from Monday to Friday, to get your problems resolved during that call.
What kind of problems?
Okay, it's an online call happening on Zoom. It's a 1 hour session, not a one-on-one. It's one to multiple people. So you get on a call at that particular time. You say, okay, I'm stuck with this particular problem. For example, if we are building a web application, right? Or using Bubble. This was for Bubble. So you say that, okay, I'm trying to do this particular functionality and I'm stuck. So she would help you get unstuck by giving you logical things like, okay, you do it this way or try it out this way, structure the database this way. Okay, you put the workflows this way and stuff like that. So I joined that particular program where our team members could actually get unstuck, right? Whenever they are stuck. And after doing it for a few months, okay, she felt that we actually have done a lot of challenging things, right? And after a year or so, she actually asked me if I could run that for her.
Wow.
Okay, so I didn't have the confidence actually. Okay, but then I said, okay, let me try. And when I joined that particular program where I was helping others get unstuck, I realized that we have actually done a lot of things, right? I mean, the problems that they would come up with was most often not so complicated, right? We had done much more than those things. And that actually gave me some confidence that, okay, we have actually built huge things. And then Prashant, right? You already know him. So he asked me if I could do some sessions for Bubble. Okay, so then I said, okay, fine, we'll
Okay.
do that.
Briefly pause you there. How did you get in touch with Prashant? For audience, Prashant is a leader for growth and marketing at Emergent. Me and Ritesh, we met him in Build School, right? So yeah, I'll let you continue. Where did you meet him? And just briefly, I want to go back to our original question.
Yeah, so he was running Build on Chain, okay, which was a Web3 based building cohort where we would learn about Web3, okay, and build something on chain. So I wanted to learn about Web3 and see what's actually happening there, what could we do, and stuff like that. And I actually was a part of 4 projects or something like that during that cohort. Everything was built on Bubble. And most of the things that was built in those 4 projects were built by me, right? And so Prashant got to know that, okay, if we have something to do with no code, then probably Ritesh is the guy. Okay. And when he wanted the bubble based, what to say, cohort to be done, okay, he reached out to me and he's like, okay, would you want to take it? And that's how the coaching journey started.
But when did you first meet him? Because you were saying you were exploring Bubble and all that. And then how did the interaction start?
My friend had joined his build cohort right? My friend told me that he's doing build on chain. I have attended his build sessions. It's amazing. So why don't you join? Right. So I joined that and got to know Prashant. I met him a couple of times in Bangalore during some events. And then during this cohort, he got to know that I do a lot of things on Bubble.
Okay.
And that's how he asked me about
So
it.
you joined as a learner at Build, and then he got to know you, your capabilities, and then he asked you to help with some of the sessions that you were delivering. Just an FYI, that's how I got to know you. I was part of C2, cohort 2, and you were delivering bubble session for us. It was pretty new at the end of around 2024, I guess, if I'm not wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I see like a couple of very interesting observations here. First thing, the US based community, after working for a couple of months, she realized that you were capable enough to lead. So that gave you a kickstart. So
I
bubble
keep
happened, and that was in 2022, you are saying, right? Or 23, just around ChatGPT came in?
So 2020 end or so, I started learning Bubble, and mid of 2022 or so, we started giving that as a service, right? And then soon we realized that we are getting so many inquiries with regards to custom solutions. So we actually dropped the Excel-based automation, like all the automation-based things, and started building web application development, sort of
Okay.
web application.
Okay. The automation startup that you initiated in 2020, that itself was Ritz7 Automations, or it was something different then? It was
Yeah,
Ritz7.
it was.
Okay. So from there, you entered into education. You have taken sessions and taught a lot of concepts to over 10,000 plus learners. How did you scale to that level?
Okay, so all thanks to Prashant, because Prashant brought so many learners into Build, and then Build School happened, right? And then Growth School, which was doing Build School, got to know about me, and then they asked me to do sessions for their other batches, right? I'm also a mentor at Outskill now. So
Amazing.
I think about a year back or so, they used to bring in like thousands of learners every time, right? That's where we had trained like 5,000 people, right? So there was a batch of 5,000 learners who joined together where I was doing session on Make or something like that, right? So again, it's all coming from these kind of organizations, right? So Outskill has brought in about 15,000 learners or so. I've done sessions at colleges. Yeah. So we had 1,500 students joining that session there. So I think now we have crossed like 20,000 learners.
Staggering numbers. And all this is on Bubble or make.com, or like what other platforms that you have been teaching?
It started with Bubble. Okay. But then we've also done sessions on Zapier, Make. Off late, we have done sessions on N8N, right?
Okay.
AI-based agentic automation. Yeah. We have covered a lot of other things.
Awesome. And tell me the story of how did you dare to challenge yourself to do 1,000 videos in 1,000 days? That's insane. Many people can't even do for like a week or 10 days of whatever their favorite hobby that they want to maybe read a book or something like that. How did you even dare to think like that, and why?
Just before I started this particular challenge, probably around 6 months back or so, I joined this 100 days of no code challenge. You learn about a particular platform every single day. I'd completed that 100 days challenge in like 102 days or something. So I'd missed 2 days in between because of some personal reasons. And we wanted to create videos. Okay. But we were not consistent enough. We are like, okay, we used to do it for like, we would release one video every single week. And after doing it for 7, 8 months, it became a challenge. Okay, we were like, okay, what to create content on and how do we go about it? And like it was a mess. So content creation had become a challenge for us. And along with that, I had gone to this NAS Summit Mumbai, okay, which happened in October 2024. Nusayar spoke about his 1,000 days of videos and how it had helped him create content. I spoke to a lot of content creators there because that particular event was for content creators. Okay. And I was not a content creator back then, but I wanted to understand how do they think, what do they do, right? It was basically an event meant for content creators, right? Where all sorts of content creators had come. It could be Instagram creators, YouTube creators, or multiple other channel creators, right? So I just been there to understand about their thoughts. How do they think? What are the process that they have in place for creating content? I'm like, okay, do something so often that you get used to it, right? So that's what I learned. And then I came back and I spoke to my team. I said, okay, let's do 1,000 days challenge. Initially, they were like 1,000 days, like why not 100 days? Why do you want to do 1,000 days? And I told them that if you are confident that we can do 100 days, right, then I'm confident about 1,000 days because the initial 100 days is going to be challenging, right? And if you feel that we actually had just the plan, we had planned for just 100 days initially. I didn't even know like what are we going to create for 1,000 days, right? So I told them, okay, let's start with bubble because that is something that we've been doing for a very long time and we are very comfortable with that. Let's start with 100 days bubble challenge and then we will figure out as we move on as to what do we have to create for 1,000 days. Okay. And one of the things that I had learned when I had gone to college from our placement officer is that students these days do not have patience to watch like 20, 30 minutes long videos. Okay. So we decided that, okay, let's keep it short so that every day, if they dedicate like 5 to 10 minutes, they're learning something new. Okay. And they just don't know that these kind of platforms exist where you can build solutions without writing a single line of code. So I wanted to share that knowledge, experience that I've gained in the last 4 or 5 years to thousands, millions of them, so that they can actually build solutions without having to know how to write code. So all of this put together is what became this 1,000 days challenge.
Yeah.
Because it is no code, right? A lot of people get into it, but they don't know proper way of building it. Okay. And then they get stuck. So what we thought is let's educate them on the basic stuffs or whatever is possible. Okay. Let them build it. Wherever they are getting stuck, we will help them get unstuck. Okay. So that was the thought process when we started doing this educational content. And now we are slowly moving into education itself. So that's how we are collaborating with colleges and companies to do sessions with them for their students, their employees, to educate them on how to use the latest tech, even if they don't know how to write code.
So how is it helping your company get more clients? Is it harming you or is it helping you?
It's actually helping us because a lot of business owners do not have time to get the automation done, right? And when they see that we are educating, they understand that we are experts in a particular subject, and they reach out to us and say, hey, you know what, could you please get this done for us, right? Thing is happening with companies as well or colleges as well. Uh, they say, why don't you take a session for us, for our students, and how to use AI or how do we automate? So it actually is helping us.
Yeah. I have one more follow-up question to that. Now that any person who has an idea can develop products and take it all the way to production, monetize it, where do you think the software developer's role is still significant here? How should they think and prepare for future? How should the college students, especially who are about to graduate, they already took computer science or whatever, right? So how should they transform themselves into the way the market is heading at with no code?
I think when it comes to development, everything will depend on the user experience now, right? Because product development has become so easy. You are just a prompt away. But the user experience matters a lot. It's not just about what the application is doing, but it's about how the users are feeling when they use the application, right? So the registration flow, the application in itself, the output, everything matters for the end users. So it's not just about development anymore. It's about the user experience. So we'll have to give a lot of thought at the design level, okay, on how is the journey of the user while they're using application. Okay, that is when it comes to development side of things. And the key thing when it comes to success of any software application is now distribution, right? Because if you have built something which nobody knows, there is no point, even if it is the greatest product in the world, right? So distribution becomes the key, which means you will have to understand about marketing and sales even better now if you want to build something of your own. So yeah, these are the two key things that are crucial when it comes to software field moving forward.
Yeah, so these come like, if you see from the traditional education point of view, if you take some majors like computer science, then all the subjects that we are taught is not in line with distribution or marketing sales. So that's totally a different major altogether, right? So considering the fact that the education system hasn't transformed yet, but the industry is galloping in terms of transformation. Those who are learning Java or the languages in the college, what are their options? How should they start thinking about it?
I believe until this AI thing erupted, right, even a basic software developer could survive because they had some role to play, right? Now, I think if you are entering software, at the end of the day, somebody has to prompt, and a person who understands the subject well will be able to prompt better than a person who does not understand. Because I understand the subject, my prompting will be better. The agent understands what exactly I'm looking for, right? As compared to somebody who does not know. Somebody who does not know probably will go and tell, build a landing page for me without giving proper context or anything of that sort. Whereas when it comes to somebody who understands the platform well, or coding thing well, okay, they'll be able to prompt better. They can tell, okay, I want it in this fashion, okay, with all the details. Again, what we have seen so far is that unless and until you understand the logic behind, okay, you're not able to go to a greater extent. Of course, you can build a landing page, you can build some three-step registration process. You might be able to build some dashboard and stuff like that. But if you understand the concepts well, you are able to build even complex applications. Because a lot of times when you're building applications, AI is not able to get the logical flow. But if you can tell it that I want this to be done in this steps, okay, it is able to build it for you. Okay. So logical thinking also becomes very important when you're building this kind of applications. If you're passionate about something, okay, you will definitely go deeper into it to overcome whatever obstacles you are having, right? Even if AI enters that, you'll be able to use AI to amplify your results, okay, and not fear that AI will replace you. AI, as far as I understand, is not going to replace anybody unless and until you are not going to use AI. Okay, so understand how to use AI in your field, amplify your results so that nobody is going to replace you.
Yeah. The last part I asked was education institutions or the education system hasn't upgraded to the level at which the AI or any technology that is evolving, and industry is super fast to adopt those.
Yeah.
So whatever the students even though they have huge passion towards learning new things, don't you think that education system is actually letting them down while it takes time to transform?
So that is one more thing that we are trying to like bridge the gap, right? So we are in touch with a lot of colleges to ensure that they are AI ready when they come out of college. And like I initially mentioned, the education system is not up to that standard. And that's where we are trying to bridge that gap where people can actually be industry ready even before they pass out from college. So definitely that is needed. Otherwise, like you mentioned, companies are already, adapting to AI techs and stuff with that, but students are not yet ready for that. And if you do not know how to use AI, companies will not be able to hire you and like train you on those kind of basic things.
Yeah. And to avoid all that, there is another way, is to build by yourself. Be an entrepreneur, right? There is nothing stopping you. Some money that you have to spend on subscriptions, and then you can educate yourself, learn yourself, build yourself, explore. I have heard stories where 16-year-old has gotten like 1 million in funding for one of their high school projects or something like that, right? So those are inspiring stories. And now information is everywhere. So probably education system, we don't have to rely too much on that to give you sense and make you future ready, right? So we have to be just curious and then explore what is happening in the market. Probably that will lead the way one after another, just like how everybody did and how we are be lazy tagline gave you a path to automations, and then you're still running that company. That's a really inspiring story. Thank you so much, Ritesh. This is all I had to discuss. All lots of inside, true, raw, organic mistakes and learnings that you shared in this episode. I really learned a lot. It's inspiring to hear your journey. I'm sure all the audience would resonate, especially your learners, whomever you're been teaching. They'll be happy to hear your journey as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you once again. They could start their own entrepreneurship journey. And that's precisely what we're looking forward from our YouTube channel as well, because we keep exploring new AI tools or no code tools, which could help students, professionals, or business owners to build their own systems whenever needed. And so, yeah, definitely that's one of the ways for them to go forward.
Thank you so much, Ritesh.